Dan Campbell has never been afraid to take risks, but his bold decision on a 4th down against the Packers had many lions, fans on the edge of their seats. Jared Goff slipped. The play almost turned into a disaster, but in the end, it secured the victory. Yet the controversy remains. And if that weren't enough, let's talk about a connection between Goff and Amon-Ra. St. Brown so incredible that their stats seem straight out of a video game. You won't want to miss any details of these amazing stories. Don't forget to like this video and let's dive in. The controversy surrounding Dan Campbell's bold 4th down decisions resurfaced after the Lions' narrow victory against the Packers in Week 14. At the end of the game, Detroit decided to go for it on a 4th and inches instead of playing it safe. And it almost went horribly wrong. Jared Goff slipped while handing the ball to David Montgomery, but the play ultimately worked. They converted, ran out the clock, and sealed the victory with a decisive field goal. Relief, right? Not for the critics. Campbell's aggressive style always divides opinions depending on the outcome, and this time was no different. During an appearance on Karsh and Anderson on 97.1 The Ticket, Goff addressed the criticism of the decision, which in the end was successful. "It's funny to hear so much criticism after it worked," Goff said, laughing. "You can imagine how it would have been if it didn't work. It's bizarre. It was a strange weekend listening to everyone talk about it and criticize Dan for a decision that, in the end, was the right one. It's funny, everyone has an opinion." Things got even more interesting when Richard Sherman, an analyst for Prime Video, shared a behind-the-scenes conversation involving Goff right after Thursday's game. According to Sherman, Andrew Whitworth asked Goff about the sideline discussion before the 4th down call. Goff, was talking to Whit, Sherman said, and Whit asked, "What was the conversation like on the sideline before that 4th and 1? Goff summarized it like this. He went up to Dan, who was on the headset, saying, "We're going to kick it. Get the field goal team ready, but let's talk first." And Jared, a bit annoyed, said, "Man, I want to go for it." Then Dan looked at him and said, "You want to go for it? Fuck it, let's go." When asked about this during the interview, Goff was quick to deny influencing the decision. "Someone said I convinced him to go for it," Goff commented. "I didn't convince anyone. That's totally Dan. We just get excited when he makes those calls. It had nothing to do with me. I just went over to ask what the plan was. He was deliberating, and in the end he decided we'd go for it." While Goff denies having a direct role in Campbell's choice, it's hard to imagine the coach taking such a gamble without trusting his quarterback. And let's be honest, the day Goff disagrees with Campbell's bold decisions will likely be a first. What do you think about Dan Campbell's risky decision? Share your thoughts in the comments. But hold on, because the second story will leave you even more impressed with the Lions' offense. Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown are proving to be one of the most lethal duos in the NFL, and now their success is being reflected in the rankings. At one point this season, Goff completed 30 consecutive passes to St. Brown, a streak that seems more like fantasy than reality. According to Next Gen Stats, the probability of that streak happening was 1 in 780,000. It's an absurd number, but perfectly illustrates their chemistry. This connection isn't exactly new. Since the end of 2021, when St. Brown began to shine as a rookie and Goff found his rhythm with the Lions, the two have been a consistent force. Head coach Dan Campbell recently highlighted how special their partnership is. The connection between them is unique. They've been together for almost 4 years and can practically think and play in sync. If you're a quarterback, it's easy to trust a guy like St. Brown. He always gets open, has balance, strong hands, and knows how to create separation. Now this chemistry has placed Goff and St. Brown at 4th in the 2024 rankings of the NFL's best QBWR duos, according to Dan Orlovsky, former Lions quarterback and ESPN analyst. They're only behind Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, and Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson. Orlovsky explained his admiration clearly. These two are the best in the NFL when it comes to moving the chains. They've already racked up 53 first downs, leading the league, and haven't dropped a single pass. Goff has an 81.8% completion rate when targeting St. Brown, 13.2% above expected. The stats speak for themselves. In 2024, St. Brown already has 81 receptions, 892 yards, and 10 touchdowns. But perhaps the greatest testament to their connection is the simple fact that, in critical moments, Goff always looks to St. Brown first. Defenses know it, but they rarely manage to stop it. Dan Campbell is undeniably one of a kind, and his gambles can be frustrating or brilliant depending on the result. As for Goff and St. Brown, what a phenomenal duo. Their chemistry is one of the cornerstones of the Lions' success. If you want to stay updated on their bold plays and brilliant performances, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything about your favorite team.